Massive news coming out of the club as Daniel Levy steps aside after 25 years in charge. We'll be discussing that and more only here on the Crowing Cockerel podcast.
Welcome to another episode of the Crowing Cockerel podcast. I'm Graham and I'm here with Mark. Hello, Mark.
How are we doing?
Really, really good. It's an absolutely momentous day for Tottenham Hotspur. We're recording on Thursday and it's just been announced that after 25 years, Daniel Levy is stepping down. So obviously we'll get into that. Tom can't be with us this evening. He is too busy organising the Levy-in protest march for the West Ham game. We'd already planned to have a discussion around the transfer window, how we feel about how that went. We'll also be getting into the announcement around the Champions League squad, who's been left out, who's been brought in, and how we feel about that. But we can't not kick off with the massive news that's come out of the club just before we sat down this evening. Daniel Levy, after 25 years, is stepping down. The announcement is a little bit brief, just says he's going. 25 years, the legacy. Is the legacy just the building or is there a bit more to it?
I was driving home from work and suddenly you sent that message over and what an amazing bombshell it is really for the club. Just a generational piece of news, 25 years in charge. And I think my initial reaction to it in terms of his legacy, I don't think there can be any real doubt that we are a better team on the pitch than we were 25 years ago. And then obviously off the field, we've just been completely transformed under his leadership. He said in his statement that he feels very proud of what he's achieved at the club. I think rightfully so. And when you look at the stadium, the facilities and everything off the pitch, it's unbelievable. And it's the envy of pretty much everybody else in the footballing world, what we have in place off the field. I think he will be frustrated that he wasn't able to oversee the same progress on the pitch. I do believe him when he says he is a passionate fan and he really would have loved to have overseen more success at the club. So I think that will always be a source of frustration to him. But I think it's a really exciting time for the club, and his legacy really is that he leaves a fantastic foundation for this next stage now to really build upon everything that's happened off the pitch and translate that into some real tangible success on the pitch and give the fans what we've been after for so long.
Yeah, and the big criticism with Daniel Levy has always been how tight he's been around transfer windows, whether that's the capital outlay or the salary outlay to get the players required in to compete against the Man Cities, who, let's face it, had a massive injection and a sudden uplift. Chelsea, similar. Liverpool, and you could argue Arsenal have done it a slightly different way. But he's almost punished by the success that he made around building the club he bought it for about 80 million back in 2000. They're talking about it being worth 3.1 billion now. Top 10 revenue in the world. We're a massive club, and that's where the frustration has been born out from. We should be competing on that basis for major trophies more regularly. He has, under his tenure, only won, 2 trophies, the 2008 League Cup and, of course, that fantastic win in Bilbao. And there's this comparison between how many trophies the club had won up to that point. You do have to take a step back in the sense that you almost need to take it from the Premier League start in 1992. It was partly Alan Sugar's baby as well. He was really quite influential in building that. But what it also did was built monsters in Manchester United. Blackburn came in and it changed football undoubtedly.
Yeah.
And if you go back to 1992, well, we only won 1 trophy from 1992 up till the point that ENIC took over. But I absolutely stand with the frustration that it's always felt like we never quite wanted to go that extra step when we could have done. It wouldn't have put the club in a terrible position just by making sure we closed a deal every now and again.
Yeah.
But you cannot deny that to get that stadium built, and from a business point of view and a realistic point of view, having the partnerships that he put in place as well. So the NFL partnership, the F1 partnership, making sure the stadium was concert ready and able to take, concerts as well. You can argue that that money isn't spent back into the club appropriately, but at the end of the day, it's building revenue for that business.
Yeah, no, this is it. It's all building blocks towards it. And I think, again, 2 points from what you just said, really. In terms of the money that has been spent, there has been money spent, and I think it's been spent badly.
Yep.
That's part of the
Yep,
problem.
absolutely. Yep.
If we had spent that same amount of money, but made better decisions on players, I don't think it would have been the same story. It isn't as simple as just saying the money hasn't been provided, because there has been money provided. It's just been badly spent by the managers. I think the biggest frustration for me, though, is there's been, and you alluded to it, there's been times in the club's history over the past 25 years where you just felt you were just on the edge of something. And the biggest one was obviously Poch and the Champions League. And you just felt it just needed that extra little push. That's all it would have taken, just something. And that would have then just put us onto that next level. And from there, who knows what would have happened. And it never happened. And there were 2 or 3 occasions, you can just pinpoint certain times in the club's history where we just got to that level and it felt like we shied away. We weren't quite brave enough to go out and do what we needed to do because it broke structures. And to your point, it maybe would have taken breaking a wage structure or breaking a transfer record or doing something, but it just felt like that was what was needed to buy that 1 or 2 bits of X factor that we needed to push on. I mean, you look at some of the teams we've had and how some of those teams anyway didn't win anything. It wouldn't have taken much just to push that onto the next level. And that, for me personally, is where, I'm not anti-Levy. I'll put that right out there from the start. I'm not at all. But that is where I certainly get on board with some of the criticism, is that at those points where almost like a sliding doors moment, I don't think we were brave enough to really try and change our fate, if you like.
Yeah. And I remember the Amazon documentary, and he hasn't had a media profile, has he? He's been a bit aloof, and he's not particularly comfortable in front of the camera. That's really, really quite obvious, isn't it? Renowned as a businessman, he's respected in the business world. He's got a lot of nous around finance. And I like you, I don't think he is this complete hard-nosed business person that isn't interested in Spurs doing stuff. He wanted, and has always wanted, Spurs to be at the top table. He's made some poor footballing decisions. And I wonder, going back to that Amazon documentary, and this is just my perception, but of course that started with Jose Mourinho coming into the club.
Yeah.
And I did watch it and I thought, oh, you sort of almost hero worshipping Jose. It did come across a bit like
bigger than the club.
Yeah. And he tried Conte, and you can't claim that they were unambitious managerial signings. I just think he never got grasp that it has to be through the club. The culture has to be through the club that you want to win. I feel for him a bit because I do feel that some of the anti-Levy rhetoric is completely over the top, and it's I wouldn't say naive, but given what football is now, it's unrealistic not to take on board the reality of what a football club is now.
It's a blinkered view, isn't it? That's what it is, just a purely blinkered tunnel vision view of, I'm a fan of this club. I want us to do well so that I can go down the pub and enjoy being a supporter of a successful club. And there's no appreciation of any sort of context within that. It's just, you should spend limitless money until we get success. And that's no different to fans of any other club. Like, every fan would want their club to spend more money. But who's to say that spending an extra 100 million, 200 million would have brought success? There's no guarantee of that. But like I say, I just think there's times when we just weren't brave enough there.
I think it is right that he now moves on, though. He's built the legacy that probably he was expert at. In 20 years' time, all this revenue that's coming in and all this the fantastic stadium, you can look back and actually say, yeah, he managed that process. He obviously micromanaged it. He was very confident he knew what he wanted, which I think is the difference between the infrastructure side and the football side, because you could control what flooring you put in a building. You can't control the emotions of a footballer because he's not being picked for 3 games. And that's possibly where he's gets so much criticism.
Yeah, but I think that is what makes me excited about this change. It's almost like his bit is done now. He's
Yes.
laid that off the pitch foundation. It's now time to hand over it. And my assumption is by bringing in the likes of Vinay and this new, he's now the
Yep.
non-executive chairman, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
They're now with that foundation, they recognize that foundation is in place, and they've now put this new executive team in place that is going to be more attuned with the football side of it.
Yep.
And
Yep.
certainly from the quotes coming out of the sources close to the Lewis family, that seems to be what they're suggesting as well. They're saying, we want to, we're Spurs fans, we want to taste victory more often, we want to win more and give ourselves chances of doing that. Now, what changes in real terms? I don't know. There's talk of potentially, does this mean by him leaving, is there some sort of takeover going on? Who knows? No idea. But it does seem like there is going to be more of a focus now. We have all this stuff in place towards the football,
Yeah.
and that can only be a good thing for the club.
So the quotes that has been going around from a source close to the Lewis family, it says in Vinay Thomas and Peter Charrington, they believe they are backing the right team to deliver on this. This is a new era. And it's that last bit that is really interesting, isn't it?
Yeah,
Um, there's obviously speculation about the club being sold, and the club has a ownership structure that suggests that the Lewis family want to stay as owners and just back the club. So they're walking away from day-to-day control of it. They're going to obviously back the club financially. So, like you, I'm excited because I laugh when I see the criticism that Newcastle and Aston Villa fans put out about, why is it fair that other clubs can spend all this money, and they put Spurs in that category of this cartel of 6.
yeah.
But
As if it's happened overnight for us.
yeah, it's taken 25 years to get to a point where, we can pay the wages at 200 grand a week and it not be like Aston Villa, 100% of our turnover. So it has been prudent, but there hopefully is that headway there that we can then go the extra mile, because there is a clear correlation. The more you spend on salaries, unless you're Man United, the more you spend on salaries, the higher up the league that you're gonna finish.
Yeah.
So, like you, I'm shocked about the news. I absolutely put that out there. I didn't see this coming today. Maybe at the end of the season, it's been bubbling under, isn't it, for a little while?
Well, it's the irony about it is, and we touched on it last week when I was moaning about Eze, and part of that rant was this suggestion with the transfers, how everything plays out in public, everything we do plays out in public, and yet the single biggest piece of news that we've had at this club for years, and nobody had a peep. Nobody had a clue it was going on, which in a way is a little bit unsettling, because it does that suggest that it hasn't been planned and that actually it's been quite a fast moving situation? Or is it something that's been planned but has just been brilliantly kind of kept under the radar, and they've just come out and yeah, away we go?
Do you think that the protests, I mean, because he said in the interview with Gary Neville that
Yeah.
the criticism does affect him. Do you think that he's felt, actually, I can't do anything right? We've
Mm,
won a trophy. The league form wasn't good enough. I'm criticised for Ange coming in and an injury crisis. I'm criticised for not buying the right players, but I provide the budgets and nobody complains when we do buy our players. And then the transfer window hadn't even finished, and I'm getting catcalls again and protests about this, that, and the other. And he does go to the home games. He's not one of these chairmen that didn't turn up. So do you think that had any impact on it at all?
I don't know. I mean, it's got to wear you down, hasn't it? Because it's been going on for years and years and years. I mean, I can't even remember how long it was when the first protests started happening. So it's been a long-term thing. Does that mean that he just ignores it now? He's so used to it. I don't know. It can't help. But I'd be surprised if it's been a significant part of the decision. I think it's a far more strategic thing where, as you say, his expertise in a way are now not what we need. We need somebody who is far more in tune.
There isn't any more property development that they can do round the lands that they've done. Criticism again about spending the money on the hotels, but there's probably nothing else that can generate income from that
Yeah,
point, isn't it?
yeah.
So he's obviously leaving. He's leaving just after the closure of the transfer window. We had a rant last time because the Eze deal especially had been public
Botched.
embarrassment. Yeah, botched. We said it was embarrassing. It was embarrassing for the club, and I think it was. But in the end, we brought in two late signings. Kolo Muani, the guy that we've been chasing, was it summer last year as well, before he
He's yeah,
went to
he always
Juventus?
seems to be
Yeah.
linked, doesn't he?
Yeah, and of course Xavi Simons, the Dutch superstar. Really excited about certainly Simons. I don't like a out of the blue transfer deadline day. Why, to be honest?
Come
Because
on, you do.
well, you see, I was burnt a lot by Gregor Raziak. We actually have done all right with some of our last day signings, but because it was never mentioned and it wasn't
Yeah,
a build up, it was a bit like, have we just panicked and gone there? I guess with Kolo Muani, the difference is that obviously we wanted him previously, so maybe there's a bit of depth there, isn't there? That we felt that he was a decent player. With
yeah,
Solanke apparently not badly injured, but probably out for 6 months, whichever one is true. That we'd needed another body that could play across that front three, and he has got a track record that suggests that he can hit the ground running and be firing. So he's not a Matthias Tell, which is potential, and we'll get onto the unfair criticism of him and the Champions League squad. But you feel like he's a first 11 signing, don't you?
yeah. I think considering where we left the last episode, which was the day before we signed Xavi Simons, and to then have signed those two players, like you say, they do feel like proper good quality players, especially Simmons. He offers something that we don't have, especially with Maddison being out. Kolo Muani, yeah, again, with him, I'm more unsure. It's a bit of a strange sign in a way. I do think he's an upgrade on all of the other same type of players that we've got in that kind of area. Those guys that can play across the front three. And I know we want to talk about Tell and the fact that he's been left out of the Champions League squad. But again, harking back to a previous episode, I remember I said about Tell, I wasn't really sure what he was as a player. I wasn't really sure, is he a winger? Is he a wide forward? Is he a centre forward? And for him, it just feels like he's a bit of a kind of a jack of all trades, master of none. I wonder whether Kolo Muani is the same, albeit a slightly upgraded version. Again, I don't really know where he fits into that team. I just know he's a good player.
I mean, he was fantastic at Frankfurt. PSG spent £90 million on him.
Yeah.
He has obviously played a lot of games, or a reasonable amount of games for France. He scored in the World Cup semi-final, and then he's struggled at PSG. The thinking there is that the way they play, he just was bought for a different system. They're more a possession-based team, whereas he's quite transitional, I believe, and he carries the ball
Yeah.
quite a lot.
So where do you think he'll play? I mean, he's not going to play instead of
I
Kudus,
think
is
he's
he?
a through the middle striker. I don't think he's going to be. I mean, there's talk about him playing left wing for until January. It sounds like he's capable of doing that. He could be the left side Kudos with a better finish, better end product on him. But it's Xavi Simons is the one that we all get really excited about, isn't it?
Yes.
He is a name that if we were honest, we thought would go elsewhere,
Yes.
somewhere else in London. Apparently, he's on quite a bit of a wage as well, and he's young. But the
Yeah.
difference here is he's coming with experience and a
Got a real
reputation
pedigree,
and
isn't he?
a pedigree. a performance level that you feel he can make a difference. And he can play on the wing as well. So he's playing on the right for Holland against Poland. He's played on the left wing quite a lot as well. So a bit like what Maddison did. He sort of played on the left in that hole, didn't he? So because the game against Bournemouth, we really, really missed someone. I mean, Bournemouth were, and I'll put it out there, Bournemouth were fantastically well set up, but they did a job on us and we did not look very good against Bournemouth at all because we struggled to get anywhere up the pitch.
Yeah. It felt like the Bournemouth manager, it felt like he came and he basically just played his Uno reverse card. And basically everything that we wanted to do to them, he did to us. We were
Yeah,
outpressed
absolutely.
and outmaneuvered. And
Yeah,
it was really uncomfortable to watch just how outplayed we were in that game, really.
yeah. I mean, we couldn't keep the ball. We couldn't get the ball to Richarlison or Kudos, or Johnson at
Yeah,
any
just no
sort of
outlet, was there?
space. It was almost like they had two banks of five. They put five on the press right up against our defence, and then five at the back to quell any sort of outball because our midfield just wasn't moving the ball quick enough. And
Yeah,
it was so easy to close down. What really, really frustrated me after the first two games, we were really, really on board with his flexibility tactically. And then I was watching that game and we were at 70 minutes and it was just nothing. Can you not see what the problem is? We can't
yeah,
get up the pitch. We're not moving the ball quick enough. Bergville came on, he made a difference, but it's that concern that we said
yeah.
on our
Well,
pods for a number of times, isn't it?
and it is, and we said last week when we won two, we're not going to overreact, and equally we're not going to overreact with one defeat. But it's really interesting that the stick that everyone used to beat Ange was tactically inflexible, doesn't really know how to change a pattern of a game, isn't looking and being able to change what he's doing, and that is exactly what Thomas Frank is supposed to be bringing to the party. That is exactly where we're looking to see that big change is when we're struggling, he is able to do something to influence what is happening on that pitch. And again, it's one game, but those are the sorts of games, because let's not try and pretend Bournemouth are a better team than us. They're not. You could argue Semenyo will get into our team, but they've had, two or three of their best players ripped out of them over the summer. So you cannot possibly claim that Bournemouth are anywhere near us as a team.
Player for
Yeah,
player. I mean, that they've got a
player for player.
away record has been fantastic for 15, 16 games, I think it is. They are
Yeah,
a very, very good team, but you're absolutely right.
but it's exactly so. It's exactly those sorts of games where essentially we've been out tacticked, out fought, outmaneuvered, and that was what happened all the time last season. So now we're supposed to have a manager that can stop that from happening. And like I say, I'm not going to get on his back for one game, but going through the season, that cannot continue to happen, because otherwise we may as well just keep Ange.
I'm glad that they really focused on getting someone in on that can move the ball quicker and find the pockets, because
Yeah,
we're not tactical experts, but we've said all along you have the same sort of players across the team that want to take 2-3 touches all the time. You have to have someone in there that can get the ball and move it very, very quickly, because then you shift people away.
they all week they work on their shape, don't they? And they'll
Yeah,
just
yeah,
move. And
absolutely.
if you're not able to move that ball quickly, it's so easy for a Premier League team to defend against you, because they can do that in their sleep. That's what they are training on week in, week out. And so to bring someone like Xavi in, who is going to be able to make those passes and make defenders uncomfortable, it's exactly the sort of player that we need.
And an interesting thing that's sort of been talked about is that when the squad is fit, so Kulusevski's back, Maddison's back,
Yeah.
with Kudos, with Muani, with Xavi Simons, do they get back in the team?
It's almost a question of, actually, it gives us what we've been crying out for, which is options to rotate, because it's a squad
Yes.
game now,
Yeah, yeah.
especially with being in the Champions League. So it's not about who's my first 11 anymore. It's about, actually, look, I've got 16, 17, 18 players, and I can mix them up and do whatever I need to and put them on the pitch and know that actually our overall level is not going to be impacted. And that's great. If you are putting players like Kulusevski and Maddison and Solanke on your bench and able to bring those sorts of guys on, you're now starting to get back to those sorts of levels that you need to be able to really compete and challenge on multiple fronts. It's exactly what
Yeah.
we need.
Yeah. So moving on to the Champions League squad then. So obviously that's been announced. So Matthias Tell has it's been decided that he is not in the Champions League squad. A player that we brought in on loan with a semi-obligation in January with a big reputation, but he was only 19 at the time. He's been finalised in terms of the deal in the summer for around 35 million quid. Obviously missed the penalty in the Super League, went through having to deal with idiots on social media. A lot of criticism because he hasn't hit the ground running. He's not the superstar that everybody sort of hoped he'd immediately be, which is unrealistic to start off with.
Yeah,
Um,
I think it's really unfair.
yeah. He's now 20, but he's been bought by the club, but he's now not eligible for the Champions League.
It's a strange one for me, only because I'm surprised by the pecking order in terms of the fact that Odegaard is in.
Okay. Yeah.
They would have thought that Tell was ahead of Odegaard in terms of if you're picking your squad, if you've got players on your subs bench, Tell comes on before Odegaard, in my mind, in terms of their development, in terms of their profile. But again, having said that, and like I've already said, I still don't really understand what sort of player Tell is. I don't know what
Yeah.
he's meant to be
He's,
bringing.
he's sort of a inside left forward-ish, isn't he? He's not a
I mean,
centre forward. He's not a
no, he's
winger.
not a centre forward. He's not a particularly tricky winger. So yeah, I struggle. So I'm shocked, not shocked, because it's difficult for me to have a strong opinion on him. For me, yeah, Tell or Odegaard. I'm sure that was the choice at the end of the day, and the fact that it could have been either of them. But I am surprised.
I think Odegaard is more comfortable, more wide, isn't
Mm.
he? So he can sort of stretch the game. He came on for Johnson against Bournemouth and looked pretty lively. He was,
I think he is more X factor, isn't he? He is more likely to come off the bench and do something out of nothing.
yeah.
That I'm not sure Tell has necessarily got that so much in his locker.
I mean, and we've got to remember they're both kids. At the end of the day, they were both really, really young. But we've seen a lot of them at a period where the squad was decimated by injuries and in very poor form. So any criticism at this stage of their careers with Spurs is really, really unfair. And the one thing I would say about Tell is he looks to me like he has a really, really strong mentality.
Yes.
He looks to me like he's going to drive himself to be better all the time, and it might not work out.
I don't think Tell ever pulled up any trees with Bayern. I just think there's
It
this
was pure potential, he
Yeah,
went through.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
Bayern thought he had a load of potential.
I think you're right. He has got a pretty strong mentality. I hope that Tell reacts in a positive way and it's like, right, you know what, I'm going to show you now. When I do play, I'm going to show you. Because obviously you get to redo your squad, don't you, in January. So hopefully
Yeah.
if we qualify for the next stage, he can show enough in the league and the cups up to that point that potentially a different decision might be made.
All you have to do is look at Jed Spence. He will be the poster boy for any difficult times with anybody in his squad. He's gone from being told immediately that he's a club signing, being ditched effectively, to
Yeah.
then be brought back in, and he's now arguably the best left back in the league, even though he's a right back.
And congratulations, by the way, on his England call-up. And I don't think last week that this made the edit, actually, but congratulations to Tom as well, because he was calling it out last week that he was demanding that Jed Spence was called up to the squad, and that's exactly what has happened. So, but huge congratulations to Jed.
Right. So it is an international break, which, is annoying because it's dull, isn't it?
I hate this
Boring.
international break. I mean, I hate all international breaks, but I particularly hate this international break. You've just got the excitement of the Premier League starting, the transfer window. You've got these new presents under the tree that you want to unwrap, and then all of a sudden they go, "Oh, sorry, no, you can't touch them for a week or so."
Well, it's a bit like buying a new car, isn't it? and then having to give it to somebody that you're not entirely sure can drive. And you're just going to
Yeah.
panic for the next
I
2
hope it comes
weeks.
back.
Hope it comes back all right
Yeah.
before you've had
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
chance to have a go.
It really
It's
is. It
it
really
is
is.
it's bizarre, It's
Yeah.
great to have these things at the window, but
Make
all of
make sure
us
you
are going to
park it
be.
in the far side of the car park. We don't want any scratches or anything like that on our new Chavy. But yeah, so let's talk about predictions. Talk about the Bournemouth predictions. Very, very easy to summarize that. We were all completely wrong. Big null point all round. So let's just move on. So obviously, the next game is West Ham. And I wanted to just, before we get into our prediction for the West Ham game, I just wanted to ask you, because for me, there's only two London derbies, Arsenal, Chelsea. I couldn't care less about West Ham. For me, the West Ham game is the same as the Crystal Palace game, it's the same as the Fulham game. Couldn't care less about West Ham. But
Okay.
obviously
Yep,
for
yep.
them, this is their cup final, right? I'd be interested to hear, like, what are your thoughts on West Ham as a fixture? Is it elevated in any way, or is it just another Premier League game?
So I'm of the view that for reasons unbeknown to me, is that most other clubs hate Spurs.
Yeah,
And it really annoys me. And a bit off that particular topic, but the Chelsea and Arsenal loving that goes on, to me, that's weird. That's just weirdness. I think all London clubs should hate all other London clubs. They're still
yeah.
derbies, aren't they?
Are they
But
though?
well, the thing about football in England is that when you go to work or school after the game, it's if you've lost, you're gonna get the banter, aren't you?
Yeah,
And this is
yeah,
always the thing. Nobody wants to be bantered. So you want to be able to go in and crow about a win. And if you're playing a local team, the chances are that you're going to come across fans of that team in
yeah,
your vicinity, aren't you? So if you live in London, you're probably going to know Crystal Palace fans, Fulham fans. Where if you live in Manchester, you might know Arsenal fans, but you're not going to know.
yeah.
It's
A
going to be
Fulham fan.
pretty unlikely you're going to come across a Crystal Palace fan, isn't it? Because
Yeah, yeah.
they're more of a community club. So, and Brentford. So, yes, you're right. I don't really see Fulham and Crystal Palace as derbies, for me, because it's not really effectively.
There's
I
no
think,
rivalry, is there? From
well,
a Spurs
yeah,
point of view,
I think,
like it's
yeah,
just
I think to a point, it's a little bit like Arsenal fans would claim how they feel about Spurs because you look down on West Ham, don't you?
yeah.
Because they don't. Their greatest achievement is beating Spurs once a season.
But that's what I mean. They're just an irrelevance. They're an irrelevance to us.
Yeah, but this is what I'm trying
I'm
to.
not going to waste my energy on them.
Yeah, I mean, where I live, there's quite a lot of West Ham fans, and where I work, there's a lot of West Ham fans, and they crow an awful lot. Even though whenever I speak to them, they're all telling me how rubbish West Ham are,
Yeah,
but they won't shut up when they win, if that makes sense. So I think because they're so rubbish,
yeah,
generally, they're the worst version of Spurs, aren't they? They've got this massive ground, which is a terrible football ground. They've
yeah,
got this chairman that just wants to ripple, looks like from the inside and outside, they just want to rip all the money out of the club and rip the fans off. They can't run it in a way that gets them to anything. They had a decent manager that won them something, and everybody said the football's boring, so they chuck him out and get like the next three to play attacking football and scrape against relegation. And every now and again, they come across a decent player. I saw a brilliant quote from a West Ham fan on X, basically imploring Gerard Bowen to take the divorce, just leave, because there's a feeling he's only at West Ham because of his marriage to the daughter of a massive West Ham fan. So they're a weird club, but I do like beating them. I must admit, I get nervous about when we play them because I don't like losing against them, and I really enjoy beating them
yeah.
because we do it generally quite a lot. When they beat us, they don't shut up about it, do they? So for me, I probably look for the West Ham games before the Chelsea games.
Okay.
I don't understand why Chelsea hates, because again, that's just a small club that's become big. They don't have any rivals in southwest London. No, it's just someone to hate.
Nice.
Yeah,
All right.
interesting point though. But yeah,
So on to the predictions. So as you say, Tom has posted his prediction through. In shocking news, he's not gone for a 3-1 win to us like he has done for all of his other predictions. In even more shocking news, he's actually not even predicting a win for us.
No,
He is going
but
for...
he's petrified of West Ham. He never thinks we're going to beat West Ham. He really, because of this, it's their cup final thing, and they're going to turn up
Yeah.
and annoy us.
Yeah. So he's going for a 2-2 draw. And he's still going with a Kudus as the goal scorer.
He'll
Until
still
he
predict
scores.
Kudus is going to score until
Yeah.
Kudus is scoring. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's fair enough.
So 2-2 draw Kudus for Tom. What do you reckon?
You see, I think it's going to be either a disaster or fantastic, and I'm going to be positive, and I'm going to say that we are going to win quite big. I think we're going to win 4-1.
Wow.
Yeah, I think we're going big. I'm going big. We're going to win 4-1. Kudus is going to rub their face in it. I don't really need to predict one scorer, but I think he's going to get a couple because he'll actually shoot against West Ham because they've really annoyed him for some reason. He's a sort of player that quite likes winding up crowds as well.
100%. 100%.
I'm gonna go with. I think they'll get a consolation because they just will, or they'll score first, one of the two. But I'm going to go 4-1, and I'm going to go Kudus to get a couple, and that Richarlison will score again, and that this might be the game that Porro slams one in.
Okay. So Kudus is going to be your official pick for the for your points, is it?
Now I'm going to go Richarlison. Put me down as Richarlison's my official goal scorer prediction on the basis that be an extra point.
Fair enough. I'm also confident. I'd be a little bit nervous if they hadn't got that win last week, and if the narrative was they're useless, they haven't got a point, and from their perspective it'd be like, right, okay, we've got to regroup and really show what we can do. Here comes Tottenham, right, we'll do them. So the fact that they're off the mark is going to just calm all of that down a little bit. And as you say, they're not very good. So I am predicting a 2-0 win for us. And as I also said last week, I fully expect Kudus to score. I fully expect him to do a full Adebayor when he does and parade himself in front of all the West Ham fans, which I am thoroughly looking forward to. Hopefully the FA will see the light and not ban him like they did with Adebayor for doing that. But
I mean, he can't incite the crowd, can they? Because they can't. They won't
be able to see him. Yeah, that's fine. But no, I'm confident we'll get back to winning ways. So 2-0 and Kudus to score. So there we go. On a momentous day with Daniel Levy, 25 years in charge. He is no more. Is it going to be the brand new era that the Lewis family claim it's going to be? Only time will tell. But one thing is for sure, it's never going to be dull. I, for one, am very excited to see what happens on the new adventure that is Tottenham Hotspur.